Deidre Arms out of Ohio. And we are going to be talking today about longevity and cardiovascular health. It's something that is near and dear to both my heart and that of nurse practitioner Deidre. Nurse practitioner Deidre has been attending some really incredibly progressive longevity conferences, and she is going to talk about her latest learnings from those conferences. You left us hanging, NP Deidre, a couple weeks ago, and you said, okay, well, coming up, I really want to talk about everything I've learned. I'm like, oh man, I have to wait a couple weeks to learn everything, but we're here. So tell us the most exciting thing that you learned at these conferences, these longevity conferences over the past few weeks.
I probably have 1,000 exciting things that I learned,
Yay.
but
Okay,
there
we got
was
all the
this,
time in the world.
I know, there was this particular thing that I wanted to talk about today was,
Yeah.
um, so in our longevity summit, one thing that I learned that was brand new to me, and then I really have been diving into the literature and everything, was the effects of toxins on cardiovascular disease, right? And so, environmental toxins, heavy metal toxins, mycotoxins on what is happening cardiovascular wise. And so, this was like just so cutting edge new to me. But one of the docs, he was discussing like he would draw his labs for his patients. He would do a total toxin test and he would do imaging like CT scan and everything and like show the imaging. And he did like 4 case studies that he presented with this, just for time's sake. That's all the time he had. And he showed when he removed the toxins out of the total tox burden test was the one that they were utilizing for this particular summit. And he could show the imaging improved and the cardiovascular numbers improved, like cholesterol levels, high sensitivity, CRP, and things like that. And so then I got to thinking, like, okay, why have I never done a total toxin test, right? Like, do I have toxins, right? Because we know I have this cardiovascular history, and I'm like, I'm always trying to like keep myself as well as I can be and do all the things. And not only is longevity about like us strengthening, weightlifting, getting in the protein, keeping our blood sugar down, eating phytonutrients and all of that. But there's this piece here that I just wasn't aware of. So I totally dug into the research. Like, I'm like, is there research on this? Have there been studies done? And there actually has been. Some of the ones that you see the most studies in would be like your lead, arsenic, mercury, cadmium. And I know you've probably, all of us have heard of the function health like testing, right? That the labs that are out there for everybody to get, they do put the mercury, they test mercury in that. But this total toxin test that I had done, and I just got it back this week, I have quite a bit of environmental toxins. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
So what do you mean
Luckily,
by environmental toxins? What does it break it down or does it
yeah,
just lump it into one? Oh, it
it
does.
does. It breaks it down into like BPA was one. Some of it is off gassing from um, like a new build. And we just had this um, we had this new build of our office, right?
That's
We've
right.
made it larger and things like that. And so all the material, there's off gassing in that. And so not only was mine elevated, but one of our staff members, like she did her toxin test too, and hers was elevated too. And I'm like, this is totally because we've just come into a new space, right? And then the BPA from plastics and things like that. And then some of the other environmental toxins that I'm getting as I was looking through things. And I have to figure out all the sourcing and change things. Can be like hand sanitizers, laundry detergents, things like that. And I thought I was doing real well with the Yuka app and changing things, but I don't always have control of it over everything in my environment. We have control mainly of what's in our house, but not when we walk into a building. We're seated on furniture that's sprayed with flame retardant to like not stain it, things like that. And so
Wow.
looking at these and I'm like, okay, I already know where my levels stay. Um, I didn't do imaging with mine, but then I'm like, how can I put together this detox plan for me to kind of rid my body of these things? And then I'll repeat kind of inflammatory labs and all that to see.
So, I mean, when you have this casein or whatever it is, how do you get rid of it? I mean, when you're talking about toxins, I just got this gut restore from Body Health. I wanted to try it. I don't know if you've heard of it,
Hmm.
but I don't know if it really works, but I'm kind of waiting for a reaction. I'm not quite getting a
Yeah.
reaction on your face whether or not you think it works. But I did. I just bought it. It's expensive. It's like $89. So I'm hoping, or else it's going to go right back if you don't think it's supposed to arrive today. And I'm wondering if I can take that and acromansia, but it says it removes toxins or builds up at least the gut bacteria um, that can fight those toxins. I don't know.
Right. And that's the whole thing is having an optimal gut health. I talk about that over and over, but I also did my gut test. It's not back, but I thought I need to make sure my gut's optimal before I detox, right? And when we talk about detoxing like a heavy metal or something like that, it's not just drinking water. Like obviously I need adequate water, but this is when we do things like infrared sauna and when we you're out there sweating with your workout and you're doing things to sweat more, to drink more, and then we think of things like charcoal binders for a little while, not forever. Don't I'm telling everybody, don't do charcoal binders for the rest of your life. Don't do that kind of stuff because it does deplete your vitamins and minerals. But those kind of things to pull out, but your gut has to be optimal. So that gut restore, if it has things like L-glutamine, that's hugely studied for the gut. Slippery elm, quercetin's another favorite of mine. Your super aloe, like there's lots of things. If it's a combo thing, it's most likely going to help the gut. So
And when you do that, can you do that with or in conjunction with acromansia? I just got my next three
yeah.
month supply of acromansia. So I,
Mhm. Yeah.
and that was thanks to you with Pendulum Health. They sent me the next 3 month supply. So I'm hoping, but I'm thinking that I've been using the acromansia and it may not have done as much as it could have if the regular gut bacteria inside my gut was not well. So the acromansia is the lining for those who it's an enzyme, right, in the lining
Yeah.
that breaks down over time. And so I've been rebuilding the lining of my gut, but the inside probably is still pretty messed up. I used to be a professional water skier, so I could imagine that over the years of being in those lakes and not and learning my tricks versus performing them really well. I got a couple mouthfuls of really dirty water, I would imagine, at times that affected my gut, and I've
Hmm.
never taken care of it. So, hoping the gut restore is going to help that.
Yeah, that's good. It's a really good start. Like if we're thinking supplements, always the gut lining is dependent on your stress levels. If you're taking antibiotics, are you eating enough fiber and things like that? And so we know gut health is huge with longevity. There's so much talk about that. Optimizing your health by optimizing your gut health as well. So I always recommend that. I think all chronic conditions have some sort of gut component that we definitely can improve. Anywhere from diabetes to hypercholesterol, inflammatory markers, things like that. So I was super impressed though with this conference and it just, food for thought of what to do, how can I optimize my own health, but also my patients. I've been doing toxin tests on patients, but I truly never looked at it for my cardiovascular patients specifically. So that will change how I do medicine for sure. So
So I want to, so with is the total toxicity test available to everyone? Is it typically covered under insurance,
it's
or
not
only special insurance or special labs?
right. So looking at a total toxin test like the one that Vibrant has and that they spoke on, that one, health savings card, they do have payment options and everything, but insurance typically doesn't cover something like that. But through a routine lab, you could get a mercury level. You can get some of the mold things. It's not as comprehensive as this test would be, but you can pull out some of those. And if the affordability of that isn't on the table right now, then always increasing in your water, making sure that you're sweating. They have a lot of really nice infrared saunas that people can get, place over the liver area. You know, they can be affordable. Those things can be affordable, but the fluids and sweating, that's a start for everybody. And then optimizing your vitamins through your foods.
Yeah, that's really key. Which we're going to get into next week. We were going to probably, or the week after, we were going to talk about how in the world do you get 1,000 milligrams of calcium in your diet when you're over 50 if you're doing intermittent fasting and only having a couple meals a day. But
Mhm.
it's hard to get all the nutrients you need without supplementation when you're doing some sort of intermittent fasting or and I mean, any intermittent fasting, right? Whether you're having one meal or two meals, per day or going several days without meals. So I'm curious,
Yeah.
over 50, you got to modify things or somehow figure out a way.
You do. You absolutely do because calcium's so important for your bone health, your vitamin D as well. And the big thing in the longevity, almost everybody spoke about this, was your protein intake. Like it is that important.
Really?
It really is. And so sometimes it's just hard to know where to start and how to do things. But if we can get our breakfast right, especially with protein, and get adequate sources of protein at the first meal when you break that fast, that's going to help our blood sugar throughout the day and everything. And really optimal would be 30 grams. And when I have conversations all day long with people, um, not many people are getting that high of protein.
Our producer, Josh.
Steak and eggs,
Steve,
3
Steve
p.m.
wrote in our chat, steak and eggs, 3 p.m.
Yeah. So,
Were they talking about any specific type of protein? It was interesting that we're talking about this because I was just in Las Vegas, flew back on Monday night, actually. Gosh, I don't even know what day it is anymore. Monday night, and I was sitting next to the co-founder of a company called Relsius, Relsius. They are out of Singapore, but also they have, I guess, some sort of ties to India as well. Needless to say, they have a plant-based protein, and they give it to other companies to mix, and they just got nominated, or they're a finalist for some big award out of Europe that's going to be presented very soon. Um, but it's all using pea protein and chickpea protein, and they mentioned some other protein, and it's all natural, organic. Their processes are all cleared by every single governing body, and I was like, you guys just need to distribute this B2C, not B2B. I want this, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
So were they talking about more plant-based proteins, or were they talking about animal proteins, or was there an equal weight to either one or both?
Um, so they did speak about both, especially for people who are vegan, vegetarian, and everything, making sure the plant-based proteins and that they're adequate. But they really did not poo-poo doing, animal-based protein either. So that's really good. It's that balance of everything, making sure you're getting in adequate fiber as well, the fiber piece of that. But it's just most of us, not everyone, this isn't a one size fits all, but most of us would benefit from 90 grams or more in our diet every day.
As long as we're not a chronic kidney disease patient,
Right. That's
right?
why I say it's
So
not a one size
CKD,
fits all. Yeah.
no, not at all.
Yeah.
The but the talk about the value that the proteins bring to your body and why they're so important. Why are they particularly important for longevity? Why were they promoting protein? And do they
Yeah.
think that that is a key reason why people are not living longer is lack of protein?
Well, I would say it's kind of the whole thing about so protein for the amino acids, right? The building of the muscle. That
Mhm.
was a really important piece. Like some of those longevity markers, one big thing is the strength of your, thigh muscles and stuff. If you are having weakness in your muscles, like that shows decreased longevity in people. So really want to improve muscle. Josh just said really something funny, and I love it so much.
I wish he would just jump in because I love hearing his voice. He is really funny. It's one thing to see his notes, but then it's another thing to actually hear him state them, and it's even funnier.
So Douglas asked about the best or worst proteins, and so grass-fed, grass-finished beef would be more a better source than grain-fed. I'm a big fan of fish, like salmon. Gosh, I could any type of fish to me. It's a great protein source. Eggs are really well done when you're adding that. The good cottage cheese, I actually like that. It's a great source of protein. And then yeah, mahi is another good fish. And then those protein like shakes and things, we've had a lot in the news about lead in those. So I was just talking about we want to pull out things that have these heavy metals and things. So the sourcing of those and looking for, you're right, like an organic pea protein, things of that source are good whey protein.
Yeah, I was looking at Amazon. It's so tough to see. I wanted to get some spirulina because I remember last week when we were doing the Halloween candy special,
Yeah.
and you had introduced us to a really cool social media influencer on Instagram, Bethany. I can't remember her last name.
Yeah.
Her Instagram was Lil Slippers,
Little slipper.
Little Slipper. And she had those makeshift Reese's peanut butter cups, but instead of the peanut butter in the middle, she mixed spirulina with chia seeds and water, got
Yeah.
the gel, and then put them on the inside of her Reese's cups. And so I was going to try it. So I got some spirulina, but I was looking at it and it says organic. It seems, I don't know if it's a reputable brand or not. Has the right packaging. But even with that, you can get lead and other toxins into those powders depending on their processing. And that's
Mhm.
really hard to know being a consumer and just sitting on the outside of a screen and looking in.
It really is. And so most of the protein that I do is not protein powders just for myself, just because maybe call me lazy, whatever, but figuring it all out, like what's the best source and things like that. Um, and so Douglas asked, like, how do we know? Does it say on it? And it doesn't. That's what they discovered is like some of these very popular protein blends had like heavy metals in them. And so I don't think that unless you're really in the news and looking into that is harder for me to figure out. I know that the Just Ingredients brand is a really popular brand that seems to be pretty pure. So, and then just looking at how things are raised. We had that whole discussion on regenerative farming and everything and those practices. Like that's going to be the less inflammatory food sources of protein and everything. And it's really hard. We live in a very toxic world to pull out all of the toxins. We can only do with the best with what we've got in our communities and in front of us. So I would always say, like, as pure sourced as you can get with all of your food is probably like the best you can do. And even then, we lack nutrients.
I know it's so frustrating. And Josh, our producer, says, okay, they do play some games, when it comes to your animal proteins, especially with meat. If they just say it's grass finished, that means it's actually fed on grains to the last days, finished on grass. Well, that's, you want to make sure it's grass fed, grass finished. And it was
Yeah.
interesting because my dad and I were back in Raleigh, North Carolina, and all of these high-end steakhouses that were out there, the executive chefs did not know whether they were grass-fed and grass-finished. They would say grass-fed, but if they have grain finish in the last month or 2 months or even in just the final weeks,
Hmm.
then that's not going to do you any good because you're still getting the grain in there. You want grass fed, grass finished. And we stopped buying all of our red meat from the supermarket. We now get it from a local ranch to make sure that we are getting the grass fed, grass finished. Because if we're going to eat the
Yeah.
meat, I mean, you might as well just not even eat it. If it's going to be harmful to you.
Yeah.
So we just don't eat it unless we can get the grass fed, grass finish. It's so funny. We finally did find a place that said it'll say it. If it's grass fed, grass finish, 100%, it'll say it because they're very, very proud of it.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, it might be more expensive, but for example, what my dad and I do is we make sure we're only having 3 to 4 ounces at most, and then we fill up on, the rest of the plate with
Your fiber.
vegetables.
Yeah, your
Mhm.
fiber. And that's what's really important as well. So,
Exactly. So back to the toxins.
yeah.
Um, so that's really important. And you were mentioning that there was a cost. Were we talking a couple $100 or several $100 for this test if you were going to do it on your own
Yeah,
within
it's
go to
about
laboratory or fresh?
$500. Yeah, to get the test.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it is
Oh, wow.
expensive for the full toxin test. I wouldn't know how much it would cost, like to run through your insurance and at least pull out some of the mercury, lead, things like that. Um, Really, some simple things that we can do when we're not doing the testing and not diving deep into that is um, the Yuka app, YUKA, or Environmental Working Group, EWG.org. Scan your home products, see a better version the next time you go to replace it. So that can pull out some of like those environmental toxins that we get through our toothpaste, through our shampoos, through those things. If you're somebody who lives near, like in Ohio, where we live, there are crops everywhere and they are spraying pesticides. And that is the one thing I see over and over elevated in people. So we really recommend like having, what is it, the not humidifier, but the where it cleans the air in your home, the in your bedroom and your main room, especially
Yeah.
purifier, air
Purifier.
purifiers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be something. Making sure your water is clean, a clean source of water, whether you have to filter it or those Berkey water filters. I have a lot of patients using those, but clean water, clean air, like you feel like it's not too much to ask for, but it seems to be too much to ask for.
Well,
And
especially I was noticing that when we went into a couple of the hotel rooms, they use the chemicals and such, and you walk in and all you smell are the chemicals that they use to clean the room. Or if you could tell if it's a newer room where they had just redone the carpets. We on our trip, we had a couple of those, which I was thinking, yes, okay, this is great. I got a, newer room, cleaner room, that kind of thing. I'm always worried about the carpeting in the hotel rooms. I always wear my flip-flops, but you could smell the carpeting, or when it's
Yeah.
freshly painted and you can smell it. Those are all environmental factors that, you're sitting there, you're breathing in. If you can smell them, they're going into your
Yeah.
body. Those particles, the reason you can smell them is because there are little particles in the air,
hmm
and they're
And
going in and they're damaging your artery walls.
a big culprit in our homes are like the plugins and the candles and things like that, like swapping those things for more pure things like essential oils and stuff like that. But um, if you are feeling tired and you just can't totally figure it out, like start to think about the toxic environment that you're in and swapping that way. I mean, especially if you're doing all the right things for your cardiovascular, your PAD, and things like that, like those chemicals, those environmental heavy metal, all of that drives inflammation in the body. And so, as best as you can remove them. So, yeah, stop breathing, I guess. Yeah.
Stop breathing, stop doing anything, and I like to, after, so for example, yesterday after I was in Las Vegas and I had all that cigarette smoke, Tuesday I was just not functioning at all.
Mhm.
And I was lethargic. I just, just wasn't myself. And so yesterday I did a basically almost an all day fast, and I feel so much better today. And there is something with that fasting that it renews the cells in your body and gets things back in order, is what
Yeah.
I've heard. Yeah.
Yep, it causes apoptosis of abnormal cells, and you have to fast at least 16 hours for that to happen. That's kind of the sweet spot in everything that you see. Um, you know, so with permission from your provider, if they feel fasting's good, I recommend it too.
Now that we've completely freaked everybody out and made them feel like they're not in control of their health with all of the environmental toxins that are around, it's just about controlling, right? Controlling what you can control, mitigating your risk. If you're smoking, stop. If people are smoking around you, stop. If you can, make sure that you're not near any areas of construction that have particles flying, around. um, that is probably a really good idea. Don't drink out of plastic water bottles. I know we have Douglas, who's here in our live studio audience, that uses glass water bottles. You can get them off Amazon, and they have measurements, so you can actually watch how and know how much you're drinking certain times during the day. And they have infusers, ones with infusers. You can add some extra antioxidants, and Douglas is showing us his right now, which is,
Yeah,
yep,
it's
exactly.
perfect.
Um, and it's amazing. The only thing is I've already broken two at $30 a piece. I was so mad at
You,
myself. I
you need
I
stainless
dropped them and
steel.
just it has that's what I'm thinking. So stainless steel is good too.
hmm Yeah.
Okay. So maybe I'm going to get a stainless steel one because I've already broken. It has the rubber around. It's not all throughout, so it has a little hole at the bottom where there's glass, and then there's little, lines of glass, so it has the rubber glass. So the two times I've dropped them, and I've only dropped them twice, I literally dropped them perfectly. They don't quite shatter, but they break. And water was everywhere in the hotel room. It was absolutely awesome. Um, Yeah, that was
Fun.
great. And that was after I had the perfect mixture. I had just made my perfect mixture of berries and lemon and lime, and oh, it tasted so good. So I was not as mad about breaking the water bottle as I was being able
Not
to
having your
drink that
water.
goodness that I worked so hard on getting.
Yeah.
So when you're doing the fasting, you're trying to remove the toxins from your body, at least giving people something they can do, is doing that 16-hour fast, at least 16 hours, right? And can you drink water, or are you encouraged to drink water? And can you do the fruit water that I like to do during that
So
time?
water fruit water is kind of iffy because if there's a calorie to it, if
Mm.
there's any caloric value to what you're putting in your mouth, it breaks the fast.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Okay.
Yeah.
Then don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Anyway, well, thank you so much, Nurse Practitioner Deidre. We really appreciate it. Next week, are we continuing with this conversation on what you learned at the conferences? I think that was only a piece
Yeah.
of it.
It
Next
is,
week.
and I fly out Friday for an immune conference on longevity and immune. So this is a good time
Oh,
for us to be boosting our immune. So I'll see if there's any new things that I would recommend and everything. But yeah, I have lots to talk about. So
okay. So let's talk about the immune system next week and everything you learn at that conference. We'll just keep kicking my can on calcium down the road.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
In the meantime, I'll just keep taking my calcium until I can get that 1,000 milligrams by food, what I eat. So thank you, Nurse Practitioner Deidre. Make sure you go to aspirewih.com to learn more about Nurse Practitioner Deidre's practice. She does offer telehealth services across many, many states. So, and if you're in Ohio, you can go see her in person. I wish I could go see her. She's absolutely wonderful. Make sure you do like this video, subscribe to our channel, click the little notification button for more great content like this. We're here every single week and you really don't want to miss, especially next week's. So do subscribe to Nurse Practitioner Deidre's channel at youtube.com/the @ NP Deidre. You should also subscribe to our channel for twice the benefit, right? At youtube.com/the @ the way to my heart. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, everyone. If you do have any questions or you want to join our live studio audience, make sure you do email us at info